Hello, everyone. I thought I would just jump on with someone who came to my attention yesterday. That's the brilliant thing about this fight. You don't know the existence of people, and then suddenly you find these incredible people. But it's Christie Grace, who I think has become, I guess, well known because of the list of 4,000 people she leaked yesterday of accounts that trans rights activists were planning to mass report. Christie, hello. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Graham. Thanks everybody who's here.
I'll catch up with your background after this. But let's begin by just talking about the list. Can you tell people? I mean, I gave a short description of it, but what can you tell people what it was and how you got your hands on it?
I'll share some of it because I'm still in the mess of it, so I don't want to give away what I've been doing. Oh gosh, so it was about. So I've been part of GC. I was part of GC Reddit and some other groups on there before they were banned.
Yes.
And then I've been a part of your UK groups, but under a different username. I've been hanging out and spending time. Just nobody knew it was me.
Yeah.
And about a year ago or so, Fred Sargent had posted that he had found out that he was part of a list, and he had just been banned, I think, from Twitter.
Mm-hmm. And let's tell people who Fred Sargent is one of the people who marched, who was at Stonewall, was the person who put on the first Pride March in New York, and absolutely disgracefully, he has been banned from Twitter. Anyway, Christie, go on.
And so if you were too, Graham, I'm so sorry. I think many people were.
Yes, there's 4,000 names on the list. It's extraordinary. Like that's a whole section of thought that they want to just completely eradicate. You know?
Exactly. It is, and it's diabolical. It's just terrible. Fred had posted on Facebook, because we're friends on Facebook, and he says hello, that he was on this list a year ago. And then myself and others tried to open it, and I think it was either compromised or they locked it down, is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I started spending time on various apps saying, I am transgender. And I started spending time on dating apps and on MTF Reddit, and I created fake accounts. And they didn't know it was me.
Yeah.
So I've been in it for about a year. And
Yes.
It was just really recently that Dennis Kavanaugh was posting again about people getting banned from Twitter. And it was just a series of following links and talking to people who thought I am someone I'm not. And
Yeah.
I was granted access to that document. So as rapidly as I could, you can't copy or paste. You can't copy anything. You can't edit it. You can't download it. You can't copy it. It's a read only.
Mm-hmm.
So I really frantically just started screenshotting. I didn't know what else to do, and I asked for help on Twitter, and I just got some rhetorical answers. No one was really helping. So I just started screenshotting as fast as I could and then posting it to say, here's this thing. This is the thing that proves that all these people have been attacked, like yourself and Megan Murphy, and people's PayPal shut down.
Yeah. There's so many people. It's so funny, but there's so many people who are annoyed they're not on it. I've seen so many messages like this. Everybody think you really have to be. If you're anybody in turfdom, you have to be on that list. You know.
Try harder.
Better. Yeah. Turf better. Yeah. And what has the reaction been? Have you had? Because I would have thought that it might be picked up by a few people because it's such a kind of a egregious example of what Twitter has been doing and what they've been enabling. Has it kind of picked up any interest beyond people like me who are on it?
Oh, but you're a very important person in this fight. You've done a lot. Like I don't say grew, but like I own just as an aside, I own the IT Crowd DVDs. So
oh, good, excellent.
So I knew you before all of this.
Well, they banned the Internet in the Box one over on Channel 4.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. It's extraordinary. Couple of morons, like make a complaint, and Channel 4 just kind of flips over immediately. It's the same story everywhere, just cowardly corporations, kowtowing to these lunatics,
That's terrible. I'm so sorry. You asked, so I was already talking to media about something else because I've been asked to whistleblow on 2 different things outside of this. So I already had contact with the Post Millennial, with Daily Wire, Washington Examiner, and a few other journalists and authors. And if I have a signed contract with one of the largest media stations in the United States who sent me undercover recording equipment, I couldn't admit to it. But I had already been in contact. So they were already following me on Twitter, waiting for me to whistleblow on something else that's due to with psychology world. But so they were following me. So Post Millennial has written a story.
Great.
I think the Daily Wire has already 4 pubs. So Joe Bartosh and we had been talking before actually about my canceling in my other part of my life.
Yeah.
So her and I have already connected about a year ago. I was connecting with a few people. So I know Joe wrote about it in 4W Pub, right? I think that all happened yesterday. And then Ian Chang, and it's gaining traction. And then we've all been tagging Elon Musk and demanding your return and the return of Meghan Murphy and Fred Sargent. And we just keep tagging him over and over again.
Well, here's the thing. Did you ever see a film called Where Eagles Dare with Richard Burton?
No.
All right, I've been thinking about this ever since your list. It's a great movie, but like there's a moment Richard Burton and Clint Eastwood in a rare pairing. But there's a bit right where they get in with all these SS officers. There's 4 SS officers sitting around the thing, and Richard Burton appears to turn traitor on Clint Eastwood and pulls a gun on Clint Eastwood and says, "Sit down." And he says to the 4 officers, he says, "One of the officers here is a spy for the British services." So he says, "I want you all to write down on this piece of paper the names of the agents we have in the UK. If you don't know the names, I'll know you're the spy." So all the different German soldiers write down the names on a piece of paper, and he collects all of them and he goes, only joking. I just wanted to get the list, He didn't do it like that. It was Richard Burton. That would have been strange. But the thing is, that list is really powerful, not just for me and Fred Sargent, but for all the women who've been banned because of it. Sorry, I know me and Fred aren't women, but what I meant I should have changed the tense. But for all the women who've been banned, so it should just be given to Elon Musk or whoever's taken over Twitter, and they should say, just get back every single one of these accounts, because they are all the subject of these mendacious trolls.
I agree with you 100%. And I sent it to Dennis and some other people that I think you're familiar with who have reached out, and we've connected before this even happened. I didn't know if you have been on Twitter, but someone contacted me who knew of the original list, and I just posted what she posted, which is the Twitter user who created the initial list. So we've already flagged the media stations together this morning. Her name is Egan.
Is that
so
someone,
that's just happened.
Yeah. Is that someone, sorry, the person who compiled the list, is that someone who's doing so under their own name, or is it an anonymous account?
It's an anonymous account, but hoping that with Google and Twitter, I'm unsure when people created accounts, but in order for you to create a Google account, you usually have to tie a phone number to that. So I don't know if they're using an app. But the hope is that they track it back to an IP address and everyone gets vindicated. So that was the great thing, is that all these people kept saying this happened and no one was believing anyone.
Yeah. Well, the reasons that we get thrown off on this side are so arbitrary. Meghan Murphy was supposedly banned for saying that's him about Jessica Yaniv, who was also using the name Jonathan at the time. And also the misgendering rule wasn't in place when she said it, and myself as well. I was banned for reasons they never told me. They went to the press and they told the press I was misusing the platform, but they didn't say why I'd been kicked off. So misusing the platform was this vague thing. So it's kind of like they're able to smear people's names on the basis of just some trolls just gathering together and targeting people. It's again, it's not so much the trolls are just doing what comes naturally, but the fucking the kind of collaboration of these corporations is disgraceful, you know?
It is. And you have I don't want to say much more difficult time, because I've been following so many of your stories where there was that woman who has a disability where they came to her home.
Yes, yes. And they're still lying about her. BBC Wales Online, I believe, kept up the lie that there were razor blades behind the stickers.
That's right.
And they can't get an apology out of them for this. It's absolutely untrue. And they can't get they feel they can say anything about these women, you know? It's extraordinary. But anyway, but listen, let me get a bit of your story as well, Christie, because, like, first of all, I want to hear what you were using hidden cameras for. Is that something you can talk about? Or
yeah,
go on. Yeah. What's been going on there?
I went to school for a few degrees. If anyone follows me on Twitter, like biology and sociology, and then I used to work in science, and then I decided to become a therapist, and I studied 3 different degrees for psychology, and I was in my final degree. And I changed schools, and a professor who identifies as non-binary and transgender, who's a woman who takes testosterone, was teaching 2 of my classes, and I'd already taken 1. And I realized right away we weren't doing any of the material. Like, we weren't learning any of the curriculum that we were supposed to be learning. And I knew something was wrong. And instead of us doing coursework, she had us share our trauma, our memories, our lives, and we had to submit it for a grade to her, and she told us it would be kept private. And then about 2 weeks later, she said, now share. And she did this in 2 classes, and we were abused, harassed. A grown man broke down and cried. We had to share our, people shared being, I don't want to say they were raped, like sexually assaulted. People shared if they were bisexual, and it was like, if anyone's read the book Lord of the Flies, it was like Lord of the Flies live, where other students were ganging up. And then the lecture slides, of course, were saying that you have to combat heterosexual normativity, and that it's like, those are literally the words. I just posted that slide. So you asked about the recording equipment. I couldn't believe I was in it. I was having panic attacks. I got an ulcer and a blood clot in my lung because I just kept staying and fighting. But for 11 months, in 2 classes, and it was constant, not just our trauma. Like, we were being told that we had to counsel, say if a wife or a woman has a husband who has autogynephilia, that she should check her aversion to her dislike of his perversion, and that we should counsel her when we are a therapist to stay with the husband. We were told that pedophilia was normalized and that should be accepted. So many things, Grandma. I have a hunch. So I started contacting people in the UK first, because you're really part of the fight. And you have a group of psychologists and psychiatrists and therapists who are wonderful, who started a website and took me in when it first started. And I can't name their names because they're behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So we started having Zooms, and I started reporting internally, and nothing was being done with classmates. So then at first I started recording audio, so I had proof, and I started saving all the lecture slides, of course, that trans can be anything. Like, that's one of the lecture slides, that the definition of transgender is going against gender norms, that's what trans is now.
Okay.
And like the gender unicorn, for some of the people have seen that.
They were showing the gender unicorn to adults?
Yes.
Right. Wow.
Because we were told if, like, a boy plays with a doll, that he must be a girl.
Wow. And this is for psychiatrists or psychologists?
Psychology for therapists, yes, for a master's graduate program.
So basically they're grooming therapists to go and groom other people.
Yes, and so I just gave a podcast on that and the psychology behind it. So when you asked about the recording equipment, I wanted to show it. I had this on top of a coffee cup, and that's a wide angle camera lens, like right at the center.
That's hilarious.
And then it unscrews, and then so it records.
Shouldn't be showing this. Don't show any more of these. Everybody will be testing coffee cups.
Oh, and then there's a pen. So this pen has a camera in it, and you unscrew it.
Wow.
And there's it's like spy equipment. So a news station reached out to me.
Sorry, that's my son in the background. Ignore him.
Oh,
he's annoying.
Ignore your son.
It is. He's just very tall.
Like me, I'm 186 centimeters.
Yeah, well, it's a big family. Go on, what else you got?
So this is a 7-hour recorder.
Wow.
And this goes in my pocket, and these get very hot. So when you see, this is a wide angle camera lens.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah.
there
Wow.
I am.
Oh yeah, I've seen that angle a million times on news programs. So you've kind of how much material have you recorded with these things?
With audio and video and all of the lecture slides and the emails, I have 110 gigabytes, and I was expelled right before the holidays for reporting to the Office of Civil Rights in the United States, and that's on my expulsion paperwork, and I was a top student. And that is right on there. And then the university has tried to retaliate against me. They've threatened me. And I just keep thinking, I have all this proof.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? And
Yeah,
you've been an inspiration. You all have. Like, just
Oh.
to say that, like, I felt so alone last year. So in the United States, you never hear, or it's so rare, you hear people speaking out. So I was watching you and the mess we're in, and I've been watching Artie and Helen, and I've been in your live chats just under a fake name.
Great. Oh, well, I'm delighted. You know, I mean, yeah, that's
so you gave me strength.
Oh, good. That's really makes me happy. So, sorry, Henry will be gone in 1 second. Yeah, you know, I mean, one of the things that I used to worry that because we were just a small island that we wouldn't have an effect, but you can tell it's still a cultural leader. You know, things happen here and they cause ripples all over the world. It's been wonderful, and I do think that what Alison Bailey is going through at the moment is going to ring out through the world. You know, I really do.
Is she okay? I heard.
Yeah, I believe so. I think she collapsed, but then I think she was out the next morning. And the case is still going on, so I think we're okay. What I was most worried about was that they'd have to delay it, and we'd she'd have to be put under more stress. But it looks like it's going anyway, you know. So things are looking good. But let me ask, Christie, what are you going to do with the material? I mean, who are you giving it to? Do you have any big networks interested, or is it the usual kind of smaller? Yeah, go
on. I have. If there's 2 large Republican networks in the United States, one of the top ones is the one that if I have a contract with, I can't say, and I have been feeding them all of it.
Great.
Except for I've held some back to keep some aces in my pocket.
Good. Wow. Yeah. And so they're going to be running it soon?
People are, I don't want to say they're afraid. So when you asked about the media stations, 5 have been in contact, and some authors that we both know that I can't say their names that have reached out.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are afraid of getting sued. So I've been in constant communication, and everyone's waiting for someone else to take a step forward. So the media stations are waiting for the government to make a decision, or for my lawyer for us to finally file everything. So we're all kind of in a holding pattern.
Sure. Well, you know, I'm just
going to release it soon anyways, because I'm fucking sick of it.
I think you might be on. I think you might be just one of many. I think that this stuff is going to be the kind of gravy train of this nonsense that exists over here is about to come off the tracks. I think for similar reasons. But yeah. And so, what are you? So at the moment, I guess that you've got this completely. You're complete loggerheads with your university. They're not attempting to help or kind of mollify you in any way. They're just doing what they usually do and digging in their heels and butting heads.
What's crazy about that, and that's exactly right, they're not even interested in settling. They threatened me twice in the middle of on-campus investigations with the government, and that is illegal in the United States. So their law firm sent me a letter while they were conducting an investigation telling me that I wasn't telling the truth and that they were going to sue me.
Wow.
And it feels like the university doesn't know the law or what they're doing. So at first I was really nervous, and now I have a lot of support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I have all this evidence, so I just keep doubling down saying, fuck you.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well,
Like a potty mouth, sorry. And then I've been speaking to people in the UK, so I don't want to blame you, but like the C word has been flying out of my mouth, and then proper nutters and total bats.
Yeah, no, we shouldn't be influencing the language. That'll be a problem. But I'm trying to think if there's anything else we haven't covered. Really, is there anything like as far as the list goes? What was the last you heard? Is there? Has anyone kind of got their hands on it from Twitter or anything like that? Is there anyone being made to answer for it?
Just I could send it to you that I posted. Someone else linked up the creator from a year ago who had who created the old list, the former list.
Right.
They found the Twitter user, but the hope was some very tech savvy people would jump in and try to grab IP addresses. So that was the hope that not just the women on the list and everyone else were vindicated, but also that the perpetrators are brought to justice, because that's just egregious. It's diabolical.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just a list of names. So I was able to download finally someone sent me a way to download everything. And when you click into people's names, they've saved information on people. So it was a data collection. So it wasn't just names.
Was it at home addresses?
That I didn't see. So seeing like Twitter stuff where you could click live hyperlinks.
Right. So it was kind of like just their social media presence.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. Okay. Genevieve is in the chat saying, was it very interested to learn about what was said RE DSM-5. Do you know what that refers to?
RE DSM-5. Oh, the DSM-5 for the manual. Are you? So that I could be litigated against for defamation if I put a diagnosis on someone. Is that what Genevieve is asking? DSM-5.
I don't know.
The DSM-5 is the Diagnostics and Statistical Manual for Psychology.
Mm-hmm. Genevieve, can you be a bit clearer about what you were asking? We'll hopefully get that from her in a sec. I just think that it's so extraordinary that like I mean, I would understand if the university didn't know what was going on or was kind of, but the fact that it knows it's happening and is still kind of fighting you, I don't get it. I mean, I guess they've already undergone this kind of training, and I guess that they're now singing from that same hymn sheet as well, because the similar kind of people have told them it's the right one.
Right, they bet on the wrong horse, though. I keep getting told that they bet on the wrong horse. And when they expelled me, part of my paperwork, when they expelled me, and they said that they expelled me for reporting that I didn't do anything wrong on campus. They also said that they had to hire multiple people to deal with me, and the amount of reporting that I did, because I reported them to almost 40 organizations.
Yes. And did any of them come through for you?
I'm in the middle of some of them, yes. The American Psychological Association, which oversees the psychologists in the United States, are the ones that told me 3 ethics codes were violated, because in addition to everything that's going on, this professor ran an experiment on students in her former program on identity revision, where she had them in heightened states of arousal, like fight or flight. And she was doing this in order to co-create a narrative. And I found her research study, and it was the same materials that we used in class, which sounds like a lot, but I can prove that this professor did a psychological experiment in her other program for her degree, and she recreated it on us. So the American Psychological Association stepped in and said, this was wrong. You can sue for personal injury and harm, and you need to contact people.
Wow. And you've got a good case after what you went through medically. Genevieve has clarified her question. This is it. You'd suggested there was talk of having paraphilias pulled or destigmatized in some way in the DSM.
Yes. So I think that both of those things are happening. So we've heard. So I wonder if Genevieve's seen that too, where there's the DSM-5 TR that's coming out, which is it's like an amendment to the statistical manual that has the codes. But we've heard that the paraphilic disorders they're trying to destigmatize them, but then the professors that were teaching us would bring up in almost every class, what would you do if you had someone with pedophilia in front of you, that they deserve compassion, and that's how they lead in the conversation. And then they would say that this needs to be normalized. So it was happening both in the classes, and then again I had to write that autogynephilia should be not only normalized, but that a woman should accept that, and that she should get over her aversion. And I did a podcast somewhere else where I showed the audio and the video and the lecture slides from the class that I posted on my Twitter. But yeah, as far as the DSM-5, we've heard that's coming.
Wow. And do you think that will pass just again smoothly? Gosh, that's so frightening.
Because the American Medical Association's captured for doctors. All of our associations here are captured, and we've got the same things you've got going on in schools, where it's like sex parties. Like there's the Dalton School in New York that's a private school that was showing porn to grade schoolers. So I think Libs of TikTok exposed that.
Wow.
It's a shit show.
Yeah, it certainly is. It really is. I mean, I think that it's now, I'm hoping that it's becoming so unignorable that something will happen soon. Is that how you're feeling?
I am, and sadly, I'm hearing that teachers are quitting. They don't get paid enough here. I think there's a good number of parents that are pulling their kids out of school, and they're homeschooling them. And part of, kids growing up and learning to talk and be with others is being around other kids. So homeschool is great on one hand, but they don't get to socialize.
It's also going to
hopefully it breaks the system, like hopefully enough, because when taxpayer money in the United States, I'm unsure how it works in your area, but taxpayer money is paid from like property taxes and other taxes, and then that funds the K through 12, the kindergarten through like 18-year-olds. It funds the public school program. So if people pull their kids out of school, they're losing funding. So a lot of people say like follow the money, but if they're breaking their money, then.
And also, I really worry about the destabilizing effect on wider society of having people with completely atomized versions of what the truth is. Like homeschooling, you're going to get a kind of slanted thing from the parents, which is very natural, but there should be a kind of we should be able to agree on what we're teaching our kids. And at the moment, reality seems to be divided along partisan lines, so, and it's just not going to resolve itself if we're all isolated and floating away from each other. Do you know what I mean?
How is it there? Because I know the United States is really bad, and Libs of TikTok have exposed professors saying that having sex with 3-year-olds is
well, we saw a story yesterday that Genevieve Gluck actually broke. I'm not sure if she broke it or just reported on it. Sorry, Genevieve, you'd have to tell me. But a midwives group were being told that men could give birth out of their penis.
Holy shit.
And again, it's like these stories are so fucking insane that it's like, when is someone gonna just go, oh wait a sec, this is all crazy? I mean, it's like
is that in the US? Where was that?
That was in the UK. That was in the UK. Yeah. And it's hard to know. And something happened like today. I've been involved in a thing over here. And I said, oh, surely the this is my TED musical, which is kind of in a holding pattern as well. And I said to a friend today, surely now everybody sees with the cast report coming in, with what's happening to Alison Bailey, surely people see what's happening. And my friend said they possibly don't. They're all in the media. They're all reading The Guardian. They're all reading The Independent and The Metro. They're not touching the papers that are covering this stuff, and they probably don't know what's going on. And so that could be true. It's hard to get truly optimistic. But I just think that eventually it's just going to be a perfect storm of these kind of stories, and they'll all happen at the same time. And I think Libs of TikTok has really opened the Americans' eyes, and that's going to have an effect as well. Because one of the reasons this whole fucking thing exists is because British people in the media are enthralled to America. You know, they're just very heavily influenced by American trends. So when this came over, they loved it, you know. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. It's gonna be harder to take it out of certain areas like the theater, media. You know, the BBC is completely captured. The civil service is completely captured. It's really frightening. You know, there's and it's all these guys. They're all doing this kind of gravy train of these kind of lectures that you are getting that are just full of insane things, you know, just crazy stuff, you know, upside down world logic and like I heard of one. I hope it's okay to say this. Can I say this? Actually, I better be careful with this. It's something I know about one particular slideshow that I should not say because it's not out there yet. But we've got a story coming up that's very like yours, Christie. And if they come out at the same time, it might be very interesting. So if you want to get anyone who's covering your story or doing your story to kind of liaise with us, there might be a two-pronged approach to this, because we got something big coming up as well, and it's a similar thing to what you were talking about. You know, it's a similar thing to slides and all that sort of stuff. But I better not say anymore.
Can you connect us, because I'm willing to go before the media. I'm sick of waiting. Yeah, absolutely. I'll talk to you about it when we go off. But I do have to be a little bit careful. I can be much clearer when we're not on air. Yeah. I know something else that's happening in your area.
Oh yeah.
A study is coming out from one of your universities on the things we've been talking about and the harms to people, and that's all I'm going to say. But there's an actual published study. Oh,
good. And it's a proper study. It's not a queer theory study.
Correct. Okay. It's being done in the UK. So that says something. It's better than what we've got here. You've got more people pushing back. We're here. It's just, we don't have the media like as yours too. It stays in a bubble because, you know, Fox News and Post Millennial and Washington Examiner and Daily Wire can report. But if, you know, who saw the articles yesterday that this hit list came about? You know, I was worried because I'm in the middle of my litigation when I posted that, and would that have a detrimental effect on my own case because the professor happens to identify as transgender? So then what's going to happen to me when I post a transphobes list and I just didn't give a fuck? Like, I found it and thought this is more important than what I'm doing here. I still have the proof of what's going on at the school, so it's not going to affect it.
No, you're just a whistleblower. You're just a whistleblower with a wide brief.
I've also been asked to whistleblow on biotechnology because I used to manage and design vaccines, but I won't go into that on your show because you want to keep your show intact.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm in 3 different worlds right now. I'm swamped.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us on this. It's been brilliant to catch up. And I have to say, one of the pleasures of being in this fight is you just meet the most interesting people. So, Christie, it's a pleasure to meet you, and thanks for all your work.
Thanks. I'm so glad that you asked me to come on. I'm honored. Thank you.
Well, stick around, and I'll tell you what's going on over here. Okay. To everyone else, thank you so much for joining us. And what I really would like to do, just before we go, if people could send that list of 4,000 to people like Douglas Murray and people like that, I think that those kind of you know, conservative thought leaders are the people who might pay attention to this. So please do send the Christie's incredible story, which is on my Substack as well. I'll link to it below to everyone you can. Thanks very much again, Christie, and thank you for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next